All right, welcome all. My name is Ryan Oates. Starting this series where we're going to be talking with different city council candidates. And today we have a candidate for the Lowell City Council, Sean McDonough. Sean, thank you for coming on.
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Am I the first candidate guest?
Very first one.
I'm honored.
Thank you. So, so you're running for District 4, yes?
Yes.
District 4, so that's downtown, back central, like a little bit of back central.
It's more of back central than anybody gives it credit for. So it used to be, in 21, it was like all of back central, and then they cut half of it and gave it to Kim Scott. So it's just over half of back central, okay. Depending on how we define the neighborhood. Then it comes through downtown. It touches a piece of the acre, but really just like mostly the UML part of the acre. Okay. And then it goes across the river on the Aiken Street Bridge, and then everything kind of if you're coming across the Aiken Street Bridge, everything to the left of Top Donut. And then it kind of expands up, and it does like half of a street, not half of a street, left side, right side, through to Beaverbrook. And then it's all of those side streets that get close to Beaverbrook in Pawtucketville and Centerville.
That's perfect. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. It's an odd-shaped, semi-rectangular, kind of junky looking line. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And can I have you just back up a little bit, or just maybe just take the mic down a little bit?
Everybody's mics are vastly different. So the WCAP mics, if you're not like in the microphone, they can't hear you at all.
Yeah. No, I got you. So okay, so we've got the district, the description of the district. There is an incumbent, Wayne Jenness, Councilor Wayne Jenness. We'll talk about him in a second. Okay. I want to start with you though. Yeah. So my opening question is, what is the Sean McDonough backstory? What brought you to run for city council?
Yeah, so I am Sean McDonough. I am running for city council in District 4. I am a substantially separate special education high school teacher at Lowell High School. I live above Brood Awakening in what used to be the Burke building on Market Street in downtown. My wife and I both walk to the high school every day. We have a 1-year-old son who is amazing and very full of energy, very limited spaces to run around. Before becoming a teacher at Lowell High School, I taught in Methuen for a couple of years. My wife and I were both in the Peace Corps, where we served in the Republic of Mozambique, which is where I learned Portuguese. Before that, I was a student at UMass Lowell. I had a lot of friends who lived here. I lived across the street. And I've really been in Lowell since I moved here for college. I grew up in Methuen. I have volunteered with more youth organizations than I can count. I used to run a floor hockey and literacy program at St. Patrick's of Lawrence, not Lowell. St. Patrick's in Lawrence. We would drive up after class on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Is that a combined program?
Yes. So the guy who founded the whole idea, I actually grew up in his program, and then at some point he was like, "Do you want to run one of these?" And I said, "I'd love to run one of these." Jay Atkinson, shout out Jay Atkinson.
If you're watching,
Jay Atkinson, it's a great program. So he had this program called Skate and Read that he started at the Methuen High School rink because it's cheap ice, and then that morphed into Play and Read, which brought other sports in and off ice stuff to make it even more accessible. And it was and is a program focused on exposure to sports and healthy activity in a structured setting, and it got like youth mentors involved, like high school kids and 8th graders involved, and then adults and community members obviously like actually running the program. And then the focus through partnerships with local libraries was on working through like these lists of identified as developmentally appropriate books. Wow. And pairing that with a fun activity. It was great. It was a really fun program. Yeah. It is a really fun program.
As a middle school English teacher, that's really cool to be able to combine that like movement in sports with literacy, because I feel like a lot of times reading is so much of like a secluded activity where like you're just sit and read, but then like there's a lot of people who, you know, are wiggly and like to move around. You know?
And we'd bring book carts to the gym or the ice rink depending on the program. But he also got we got grants for the on ice program versus the floor hockey program. We had grants and other very generous community partners who were able to supply some equipment to help offset. So the program had some sticks. We were able to help some kids get skates. The floor hockey program obviously was a way lower barrier to entry. It was a really fun program.
All right. Well,
way more about floor hockey in Lawrence in literacy than the Peace Corps than usual. But yeah.
I don't know why I dug so deep into that, but that was interesting. Okay, next question then was like, what drew you to run for city council?
So what drew me to run for city council? I seemingly I'm not going anywhere. So my wife and I were renting. So after we got out of the Peace Corps, we needed a cheap place to live, and Lowell used to be that. And so we were renting on Jackson Street. We started in 27, which the people at Wynn want to call 27, but it was 27. And then after a rodent infestation, sorry, Wynn, but after a rodent infestation, we moved across the parking lot to 109. No, not 109. I'm sorry. I have it backwards. We ended in 27. We started in 71. That's what it was. I flopped them. We started in 71, the counting house one in the middle, and then we moved to 27 after the mouse problem. Yes. We were able to save up some money because of the mouse problem. We saved a little bit of money on rent for a year.
Okay.
I found Larry Curtis's personal cell phone number if anyone ever needs it. Larry Curtis is the managing partner from Wynn. Okay. We used the money we saved, got very, very lucky on an underpriced condo on Market Street, and we were able to move across the canal and stabilize our housing costs.
Wow.
And so now we have a kid. We both teach at the high school. We sold one of our cars. We only have one car in the garage. We both love working at the high school. We like living in Lowell. There are some things that could be better. And I think just living down here for 10 years, making friends, talking to random people, trying to communicate with my city councilor once about a year and a half ago now. We need someone responsive, someone with a little bit of like an actual vision with a goal for what our neighborhood/neighborhoods are going to look like, and that are responsive to the needs of a growing city. We have a lot of money potentially coming in, and I think we want to make sure that we have an active voice at the table, shaping to the greatest extent possible that development to meet the needs of the people that live here.
Yeah, so let's dive pretty concretely into that. So like, you talked about having a vision. What is your vision? What are what's your platform?
Yeah, so, I mean, the silly thing it says on the shirt, and I truly believe it, we can have nice things. What are nice things? Everyone loves to ask, what are nice things? Parks, parking, pedestrian safety is where it started. Downtown doesn't have a real park. We have lots of city-owned plots of parking and dirt, but we don't have a park. Downtown residents and business owners and your customers and my family members and friends are paying a whole lot of money to park in some city garages. And we don't have... So we don't have a park. We have rather expensive parking for what it is in downtown. And as far as pedestrian safety, our sidewalks, I understand that this administration is putting lots of money into sidewalks, but we need, some of these spots, even just a cone. I understand that it can take time to get a sidewalk repair done, but I was on a walk with someone a couple of days ago, and she almost face planted because there's a 2.5 foot sinkhole in the middle of Merrimack Street and in the bricks on Merrimack Street by Kodo. And I was like, oh, watch out. And she was like, oh my God. I was like, yeah, if you don't know that's there, if you don't do this walk really often, that you watch people fall.
Yeah. And that, I think, is true for everybody, but especially true with anyone with like a physical mobility impairment, right? Very key that we have like good infrastructure.
And so I teach, and I already said it, I teach substantially separate special education. The high school's in the middle of downtown. It's an 18 to 22 program. We should be off campus. Like getting off campus is a great thing. It's a real opportunity and resource of the program that we're in downtown. But thinking through the mobility needs of the kids and how inaccessible our city sidewalks are, like they're ADA. I don't know that we have sidewalks in downtown that are ADA compliant. You've got huge chunks of concrete and brick missing. You have curb cuts to nowhere. You have other curb cuts that are like beachfront property for days after it rains, and then in the winter are skating rinks. Thinking particularly about right by the Old Court. So as you're crossing from moving from Market Street towards Merrimack Street along Central Street, you go to cross at Old Court, and that whole crosswalk is inches of water for days after the rain, and it is a skating rink all winter. Not safe.
Yeah.
Not safe.
I like how when you talk about things, you're talking about, like I can picture in my head what you're talking about. You know, like I can see concretely what you're hoping to change in that. That's really nice. Okay, so I'm hearing parks. I'm hearing infrastructure, sidewalks in particular. Yeah. What else?
So the other part of parking, so when we talk about parking, the district is huge geographically. The District 4 is huge and varied. So we have the needs of people in Pawtucketville who are occasionally competing for spaces with university students who are competing for street spaces. They have a resident sticker program that is sporadically enforced. I know one complaint that I've had out there is that if you don't have off-street parking, or you maybe only have one car off-street space, that, and I hadn't thought of this until I started door knocking, but I hear it a lot now, and I've learned so much about the district over the last couple of months, like pounding the pavement. When you have visitors over, like you want to have a cookout for Labor Day. Yeah. Obviously, no parking enforcement on Labor Day. It's a holiday. But if you wanted to do it on Saturday, yeah. And you now have people visiting your dwelling. They're going to your house. They're in your backyard. They have to put their car somewhere. If they park on the street, they are technically in violation of the city's parking ordinance because it's resident sticker only. Yeah. And several people that I've talked to have had this very thing happen. They have a birthday party for their kid. They have several family members over for whatever. And suddenly their mother-in-law has a parking ticket. Yeah. Because there's only 2 off-street parks. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. So there's that piece, right? And then we go all the way to the other side of the district in Back Central, where we have sidewalks full of cars because there is nowhere to park. Yeah. Houses don't have driveways. There are a couple of parking lots, like one that used to be owned by the court, like for juror parking, that are full of residents trying to find a place for their car. And we have city parks that, I mean, Kim Scott had a really good motion at the last meeting asking the city to take a look at this because there's a park in Back Central, Rotary Club Park, that suddenly was prohibiting parking, and that took like 20-something spaces away from the neighborhood. And we have people parking 3 or 4 streets over. Currently, the city says you can't buy a resident placard if there is a parking space, if there's a parking lot available for rent. Okay. Like in Back Central, there's a carve out for Back Central that says in Back Central, you can't buy one of these in front of your dwelling spaces if somebody else has a parking lot that you could pay money for a spot in. And so you have some of these like senior citizens in Back Central who can't park in front of their own house because they can't even pay the city to park in front of their own house. It's not working for the residents of the neighborhood.
Another accessibility thing.
It's an accessibility thing. It's has anyone actually talked to people that live in the neighborhood thing? Fundamentally, it's a right to the city. Like, people have a right, and not just in the Highlands and in Belvedere. People have a right to decide and should have a voice at the table for what their neighborhoods look like. Yep. The last thing on parking is in downtown, which is when District 4 talks about parking. I think when anyone talks about parking, everyone immediately goes to downtown, which is why I wanted to start with the parking problems in Pawtucketville, Centerville, and Back Central. But in downtown, we have these parking garages. And there's no choice but to park in these parking garages. That's where you have to park if you live here. When I moved to Lowell, I pulled up my budget sheet. I was paying about $65 per car.
Over what time frame?
This would have been in 2021.
Or like per month or per year?
Per month. Sorry. So per month, it was about $65 a car. Okay. Now, it's $97 a car. It was $91 last year. I think with I'm rounding it up. I rounded up to $100.
Yeah.
It's about $100 a month per car. We only have one car. That is a real big savings for Carolyn and I, and that is because we both teach at the high school. We can walk. For most people living in downtown, that is one car per working adult in a household. So I know someone who they moved out of. I know several people that moved out of the city. It's part of the reason I'm running. It's like, why is everybody leaving? They all cite the same things. There's nothing to buy, and you're paying between $1,200 and $3,600 for parking on the year. $1,200 to $3,600 for your household's parking needs, because one car is $1,200 on the year, two cars is $2,400, and you had a kid and your mother-in-law is going to come watch your child. Well, we should probably pay for her parking too.
Right. Now
you're at $36,000. That's approaching my property tax bill.
Wow. You also, with parking, we've spoken about the inequitable impact of that cost.
Yes. So it's annoying to me. Yeah. Like, it is. It's so, to me, financially, I'm a teacher. My wife is a teacher. We are by no means rolling in it, right? But we have one car and we walk to work. We can handle $100 a month. The city does not have any sort of discount or program available. So we have a high concentration of subsidized housing in district, specifically in district that would utilize parking garages. Yeah. Thinking specifically about Market Mills. And while there are senior rates available, which is good, there is no rate available for adults, non-senior citizen adults living in subsidized housing. So you have people with $300 to $400 rents that the city is charging round up to $100 a month to park their car, which does result, and I talk to these guys a lot, it results in all sorts of very creative parking spaces to try, because if you don't have the $100, you can't spend it, but once you get 3 parking tickets, your car's impounded. Yeah. So we let Lowell High School students pay $33 to park their car. So something that I had suggested on my Facebook page was, can we give one $33 spot to adults living in subsidized housing as a start? Yeah. One. I'm not saying every car. I'm not saying it, just, yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that I like about the way you think about things is where you're talking about, how do we make things better and make sure that it's fair also?
Right.
So, and that kind of makes me think about,
that was fun.
A little light flicker.
Yeah.
Makes me think about the city's economic development. That's been a big topic of conversation recently. So, we've had the UMass Lowell has its Link project, which we're kind of in the heart of here, that will hopefully be bringing jobs and new housing to the area. We've got the Frontrunner City designation, which, to be honest, I don't fully concretely know what that's exactly going to bring, but I am hopeful about it, that people are coming up with ideas for helping the city's economy in the future. I guess my question for you is, what is your theory of the case for how we build out the city's economy while also making sure that that benefits the people that are here now?
Yeah, I mean, part of what I'm trying to say is that when we build a city, and when we design the city, when we think about the city as being for people who live in the city, right? Like when we think about having impactful, useful, meaningful public spaces and recreational opportunities like in a park, that we increase our foot traffic in that area, and that the increase of foot traffic is, one, aesthetically pleasing to any visitor. Wait, sorry, that's not even the first. It's, one, good for the people who live there. I would like to be able to go outside and have a park. My kid would like to be able to go outside and have a park. All of my neighbors, everyone I know on my street, everyone I know in downtown would love to be able to do something other than just walk on the Riverwalk, which is great. I love the Riverwalk. I'm not no diss to the Riverwalk here, but it's not a swing set. It's not a basketball court. So, one, it's beneficial to the people who live here. It's good for their mental and physical health. It's good for a sense of community. It's where you meet your neighbors. It also increases the aesthetic appeal of an area to see vibrant traffic and people engaged in, unstructured recreation activity out and about and enjoying their neighborhood and their spaces. It also leads to incidental spending at coffee shops and sandwich shops and, the kinds of purchases that people make if they have cash in their pocket or a card that they're not thinking about when they're out of the house. And it's not every time, but with increased foot traffic comes increased spending. In that, I think, and I think when you look at other municipalities, that is a driver of some economic development. And then when you tie that into, Lowell's a national park, specifically around downtown, very heavily a national park. We have a college campus. We have a high school campus. We have people coming in for events at the Songus. How do we keep... There's two groups of people that we really need to keep in downtown to spend money if we want real sustained development, and that's people coming into downtown for events at the Songus, for college, for school, and it's people who live in downtown and in the immediate outlying area. Dick Howe had a blog months ago at this point where he drew a circle of the old walking commute neighborhoods that would go to the factories, and you're talking about like the Acre and the Lower Highlands, what they were calling Lower Belvedere, and the majority of the people that historically lived in those neighborhoods worked downtown.
Right.
Well, maybe the majority of those people who live in those neighborhoods should recreate downtown. If we had something to do, it's a centralized location. Yeah. Instead of trying to get across the city to meet your friends, play basketball downtown. We don't need to go 3 miles from the Lower Highlands through downtown across Thorndike to Shed.
Right.
Just come here, but we don't have anything yet.
Yeah, if you're going downtown to play basketball, to play pickleball, as some of our my family members like to do. When you're done, or like right before, you might go get lunch.
Buy
or whatever,
a coffee,
right?
get lunch, sit. It's easier to go, do you want to, if you're going to sit in the park to read the paper, read the book, hang out, do you want to sit on a bench and stare at cars drive 35 miles an hour down Market Street? Or do you want to sit and watch, scenes of people enjoying themselves, right? Like, right. So there's that piece. And the other part of economic development there is, and what I'm excited about with the Frontrunner City thing, is viewing the space as a neighborhood and as community that is resident centered in a way that's not just like people need a place to sleep at night. Mm-hmm. It's that you need the rest of the neighborhood. So right now the vision for downtown has been for 4 years, like, what do we need? More places for more housing units. Love housing. Housing is great. I like housing, right? Like I've lived in rentals. I live in a condo, right? But you also need the rest of the neighborhood. You can't part of not being car centered is actually having things that are accessible by walking.
Right.
And right now, we don't have walkable amenity. We don't have a park. We don't have a basketball court. In a basketball court, and I keep going to basketball court because a basketball court is such a small ask. Like they're small footprint. They don't require lawn mowing. It's a small patch of pavement that has been painted with a hoop. Like it's not a big ask.
Yeah.
We also don't have a grocery store, but the city can't open a grocery store. But I think
Zoran Mamdani about that. Yeah.
He might be onto something with the grocery store if nobody else wants to build one. I think I would love a grocery store, an innovative grocery store at the HCID.
Yeah.
Have you looked, Ryan, at those plots? By the way, I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget them because so the Hamilton Canal Innovation District, the most recent thing I could find, the city currently owns plots 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 17, and 18.
Okay.
Plot 13 is this tiny little triangle next to the parking garage. It's where they put the like pop-up market.
Yep.
15 is the National Park Service parking lot. And then 16 and 17, I think 16 is also National Park Service parking lot, but on the other side of that weird little street. Plot 15, they're talking, I guess, to Wexford Development about putting in like a research lab space, which is, I guess, fine. I'm kind of sad, if I'm being honest. Most of the people that I've talked to that live in Market Mills and elsewhere downtown were like, wow, this could finally be our park. The current councilor talks a lot about how there's no space left downtown and we can't build a park because we're going to have to take something out. But I'm staring at these vacant plots of land that don't have a plan, saying, I don't understand.
Yeah.
We have a plan from 20 years ago that said we needed to build housing and offices, but have we looked at what the neighborhood currently looks like? Because what the neighborhood currently looks like is we really want a park.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think plot... I have it with a big old star on the note so I wouldn't forget. I define finding a map of the HCID is not the easiest endeavor. Parcel 16 and 17 have no outside interest right now, according to the DPD memo that I saw on the city website. I think plot 16 and 17 is our playground and our basketball court and our grass. That's what I think.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. So we were talking about economic development and how we can make sure everyone is included in that. You talked about making sure there's green spaces and parks downtown for people to, like those third spaces for community and drawing people. What about, one of the things I think about is we're bringing in, with Link, for example, there's going to be jobs coming with that. How do we help make sure that people who are here now, or maybe the students that are in the public schools, have a future in being able to, get some of that employment someday? Like, what do you envision? Because I guess personally, maybe a more pointed question. I know Liam Skinner, superintendent, has been talking about universal preschool as one way to invest in like our human capital in the city.
Nowhere near enough to increase preschool that every smart community is adding. We're not even talking about that because that's silly talk. We don't have anywhere near enough funds to do things like that.
I'm wondering your thoughts on that, or like what else you think we could be doing.
Yeah, I think as far as school funding goes, and I've cleared this with the state.
Yes. Yeah.
So I am a school teacher in the city of Lowell. I have to, if I win, when I win, please, I hope, I have to call state ethics before any, major votes directly on the school. Basically, they won't issue an individual ruling, but I can talk about whatever I want right now. On school funding, I said at the start of my campaign, my first interview with Inside Lowell, our Chapter 70 funding, the state has a formula where it determines your Chapter 70.
Right.
And on the financial reporting on DESI's website, anyone can see the number, they can see how much money the state thinks you need, and they can see what you're funded towards. Right. So our Chapter 70, the last time I looked at it, said that Lowell was funded at 104%. So with all the money from the state and the small amount, frankly, that the city kicks in. We hit 104% funded, but 100% funded is not like it's not a great education, right? That's not funding your wraparound services. That's not funding additional coursework or after school programs or preschool, or that is like the rice and beans of educational spending.
Right.
A bowl of Cheerios for breakfast, and then rice and beans for lunch and rice and beans for dinner. No snacks, drink water. It certainly works, but right? We could ask for more.
Yeah, and just to kind of put a fine line on that, so there's this baseline of what the state deems, I forget the exact term for it, but that the bottom line of what is good enough.
Yes.
And if you combine the funds from the city and the state, and it meets that, then you don't need to do anything else. However,
bare minimum achieved. Yeah.
Bare minimum achieved, yeah. But if you look at other districts,
this is where I was going.
Okay,
like your district.
Yes, I teach in Lexington. Again, Liam Skinner likes to talk about Wellesley. They're not okay with the bare minimum being achieved.
They're not
right?
even close. So they're talking. When you're talking like Lexington Concord combined for the high school, 230 something percent. Andover was over 200. I forget what Wellesley was. North of 200. They were all north of 200% funded.
Yep.
We are not them. I don't want anyone to get the impression that McDonough's running on just sell everything and dump it all. No.
Yeah.
Haverhill is funded at about 114%. That's a roughly 10% increase, if my last number off the top of my head on the 104% for us is correct. It's a 10% increase. Yeah. That, I think, is a great short-term goal. I don't even mean next funding cycle. But I think what the city of Lowell needs to do, city side, that would allow the school department to, budget with a longer time frame than finding out about a cut 2 weeks before the budget was due, is a commitment that we trust. We're gonna trust the people that come up with the formula at DESE that says here's the bare minimum spending. It takes into account your ESL populations and your special education populations, all the various groups that have different dollar values assigned to how much it costs to effectively educate. We take that number and we say, okay, that's what 100% is. We want to be funding the school at 110.
Right.
That's not even Haverhill. That's a 5 or 6% increase on where we're at right now. I would love to say get me to 114%, but I am also a special education teacher, and I recognize the importance of small incremental goals. I think the small incremental goal here is, we want to be a front runner city, and we want to have the Link project. We have all of this money coming in. We need to choose Lowell. Choose to invest in the people that live and work here, in my kid, in your kid, in your grandkids, in any kid. Yep. And fund the schools at 110%.
I like that.
It's a nice, everyone knows, give it 110, right? Give it 110%.
Yeah.
First, and then keep going. But 110% is a good short-term goal, and I think that commitment from the city allows the schools to plan accordingly. It's not hey, I wonder what we'll get funded at based on what the state get. That shouldn't matter. Yeah. We should say we want the schools 110%.
And just to add on, because I'm putting on my... I guess I'm an occasional volunteer with the Lowell Education Justice Alliance. I don't want to overplay my relationship to them. I have a lot of respect for the people that are doing that. But there is a bill in the State House to adjust the Chapter 70 funding formula to, at the very least, make sure that the funding for schools keeps pace with inflation.
Yeah.
So I would, love to see either our city council or our school committee kind of encourage our state reps to to push that forward.
Yeah,
it would benefit cities like Lowell. Right?
Yes, no, obviously, yeah. Money from the state is money from the state, and we like it. That bill is a good bill. I think where I'm coming from as someone running for city council is that I think we need to make sure that the city's priorities are there and are known and are measurable. I think we're very good in Lowell at sometimes we come up with these goals that don't have objective metrics. And so, Yeah, whatever our Chapter 70 funding is, whatever 100% funded looks like, I think we shoot for 110. We're at 104. It's a 6%.
So my next question, keeping on this theme of economic development for inclusive prosperity, one of the things that have happened recently that I think is kind of a prime example of that is the issue around the Markley Data Centers. So just to give like a quick summary, basically you've got this data center that's been here for like 10 years, I think. I'm pretty new to the city, so I'm remembering it's like it used to be a spaghetti.
So okay, so it was a spaghetti factory.
Yeah.
It was Prince Spaghetti Factory.
Yeah. And
then it was vacant. Yep. For a while. Like it did not have an industrial use for a little while there. Yeah. And when it was Prince Spaghetti Factory, like from the people that I've talked to in that neighborhood, like when it was Prince Spaghetti Factory, like it was fairly open. They would like play music. Like, what's their noise from spaghetti production? Like, yeah. There was lots of spaghetti production noise, I guess. But it was like part of the community. Everybody worked there. But yeah. Yeah.
So you had that, then closed down and went vacant.
Yeah.
And then you had this Markley company
it's like the Death Star. Have you seen a picture of it?
I've not seen an actual picture of it.
Okay. Remind me to show you one when this is over. I don't want to dig through my phone, but it's like, the Rolling Stones song about painting it black.
Yeah.
All right. So you got a brick building that used to make spaghetti, right? You can see it. It's red. It has windows, right?
Yeah.
Paint it black. The whole thing. It's like I came around the corner and I had seen that city council meeting that you're referencing. What does this? What could this thing really look like? These people are really angry. I want to see it like right now.
Yeah.
It does. It looks like a place that like Darth Vader might like hang out.
Okay.
Just aesthetically. I understand that has nothing to do with whether it's good or bad. But aesthetically, it does. It's a very...
Yeah, we're painting a picture. I see.
I want you to see. You come around and you see these houses, and it's like, oh, like that's a nice dun 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 dun. Yeah, it's
so. Yeah. Now you see it.
Yes.
You see the Markley Data Center. They have been operating on these generators that I'm forgetting the exact fuel, but it's using a fossil fuel.
It's a big old diesel generator.
Diesel, thank you. Yeah, and there have been complaints over the years about consistent and community-driven complaints about not only the sound, the kind of sound pollution that these generators cause, but also the air pollution, right, from that. That's my main understanding of previous complaints? Could you?
And then you also have these like the cooling apparati.
Right.
One of them, I'm thinking about this woman's house. It's there, and literally the cooling like tower thing is like you could throw a tennis ball and hit these things, and the condensation off of them then comes into her yard, and if she had any,
really?
it rains every day. It doesn't actually rain, but like the yard gets wet. If you leave a car window down, it gets wet just from the condensation off of the cooling tower.
Interesting.
Add that in with the generators. You add that in with like the weird on again, off again fencing, and when you look at the context of about a decade of neighborhood complaints, and then when you go to the Registry of Deeds, like land records site, and you start searching through who owns what where, and you start to see, oh, there are a lot of neighborhood complaints. Oh, they say they want to address them. Oh, a piece of property went up for sale, and one of the people directly involved with the Markley project used an LLC to buy that home.
Okay,
and it happened again. Oh, and it happened again, and again and again.
Interesting.
So now, I mean, like Prince Ave is almost entirely owned by the. I don't want to call them all executives because their lawyer for specifically the Lowell project isn't necessarily an executive of Markley, but they're owned by these high ranking Markley people through real estate holding LLCs.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
piece of
it's
the
a lot.
story.
It's a really significant. It's a significant amount of property.
Yeah.
Actually, some of the people who spoke at that city council meeting with the red shirts were like people who lived in what amounts to Markley owned. I would say.
Okay. Yeah. So, and when I'm looking at from the lens of development, sometimes at the expense of the people that are already here.
Right.
So I'm thinking about, there was a proposal recently from Markley to add, I think it was 11 more generators to get it up to the number of like 27 total generators in this area. And they essentially had to ask the city, can we do this?
Right. I think this one was the one we're talking about. I thought they were looking for 11 or 4, and then they're going to be back for 11. Or
oh, that's right. So for clarity's sake, they were asking to add these generators as backup in case
double backup.
Yes, in case the ones they're using shut down, like so they could protect any stuff they really need to keep going. And so that was the request, to have them for backup. And there was a big push from local people saying, like, we've been telling you about this, it's too loud, it's the condensation, all this.
Right, dumping, pollution in my air,
and you get a moment where the city council has an opportunity to decide what happens here.
Yes.
I will say, I've heard from some folks in the city that so they had to get approval from the state first. I think the DOER, there's a report, and they got approval from the state to be able to do this, saying that it was not going to break any state law around.
And Maura Healey does love a data center.
Yes.
I mean,
so any doesn't break any laws around air pollution, etc. Like they greenlit it, and so then it puts the city in this kind of precarious position where they're like, we're hearing people say they don't want this, but the state is saying it's okay. So what was your take on that?
My take is, if the city didn't get to say yes or no, then they didn't need to ask the city, right? If you are legally, if in the legal chain of can I do this, it has to go in front of the city council, then I don't understand. Why are we offsourcing your responsibility as a counselor to any of these unelected agencies or appointed boards within the city? Like, we wouldn't need the final check of the city council for this project if we didn't need the final check of the city council for this project. The city council, the guy I'm running against, had a responsibility to actually make sure that the development was not happening at the expense of the entire neighborhood. And I also don't want this to turn into like, oh, McDonough's anti whatever. No. I think there's a way to responsibly develop. The reason I bring up the amount of property that Markley associates are purchasing in the area is I think that does imply that maybe they're not as interested in being a good neighbor as is presented. And I think that the role of the city council here is, regardless of compliance with state regs, that when we are doing development in the city of Lowell, it is not at the expense of the residents of the city of Lowell. And that didn't have to be a blanket no. I think contingencies or whatever asks are made by the city in exchange for these permits need to make sure they're benefiting the people most adversely impacted. They need to be at the table, and we need to figure out a plan that works for everybody. I think what is fundamentally wrong is what my opponent said, and anyone is welcome to go back and watch the clip, which, to paraphrase, amounted to, if you don't like living in an industrially zoned area, move. I think that's obscene.
I'll be honest, I haven't watched that whole council, so I'll take a look at that. And I think it all kind of amounts to the same sorts of things that you see in Louisiana. There's what they call Cancer Alley, right, where and similarly, like the way highways were designed in like New York City and pretty much everywhere in the country, where the people with the least amount of political power, that's exactly where these like least preferable
Yes.
amenities end up going.
Correct.
So like it was petrochemical plants in Louisiana that are
Right.
very carcinogenic, and like there's huge incidents of cancer in these areas where, you know, largely people with low incomes, black and brown families are living, disproportionately impacted. Kind of
Right.
similar thing going on here.
And I also want to say, like, I talked to several times to somebody over at the Sierra Club who had mentioned, it was called Purple Air is the company.
Okay.
Because the way the state regs work, they largely look at like yearly emission, not necessarily your short-term impact on a confined geographic space.
Right.
And so one of the concerns that I had heard, and one of the concerns that I had heard from people over by the Markley plant, and kind of echoed by this person at the Sierra Club, like, yeah, it's actually a thing that people have looked at, and this is how people have addressed this in the past, was these like, Purple Air or another company that offers the device and the service tracking the air quality in the area immediately around Markley, like on people's property,
Right.
and seeing if there is anything to these complaints. And you know what? If Markley is actually doing everything that they say they're doing, and it's, you know, not as bad, I think it would go a long way in addressing the concerns, at least a decent pocket of the concerns that residents have. And if the data comes back and it's like, see, it's okay, I think people can rest a little easier. And that's one less thing to worry about. It's one less kind of concern that neighbors have that would need to be addressed. And this is why I say, like, I'm not necessarily, you know, anti anything and coming in with a hammer. It's just, can we listen to the concerns and can we respond? Yeah.
Yeah, because my thought too is like a lot of the development going on with Link, for example, or other companies that might come in. I believe I saw a letter from someone at the university that basically saying like a lot of those things are dependent on their data being in some way stored by the Markley Center, like a relationship there. And so it's like, we're going to need these things. We're going to need data centers, but I'm just thinking like more strategically what we can do to make it.
Yeah. No, I'm not. And that's why I say, like, I'm not necessarily not anti even this particular data center. It's just making sure that development is done in a way that doesn't hurt everyone else. Right. But I also, like, to push back on this, like, we need it was really weird. And so I went looking, and the Markley site is largely a backup site to their Boston location. They have like a cable that runs from here to there. I asked, I don't want to name drop anyone, so I asked a very prominent official with UMass Lowell. I saw them out somewhere. I play pickleball with them, actually. It's like, what is the deal with this? Like, why are we getting like letters that say like you guys really need them? And I mean, they said, well, it's just a data center. It was a stock like, do you do business with this company letter. And the concern there is that if Markley is a bad neighbor, and if that does sour the community on development, that could potentially jeopardize future Link development, because if we see like, oh, these companies come in and they run roughshod over a neighborhood and look what happened, then the people living living close to Link or any other future development look at a recent example and get animated, and I not necessarily wrongly, which is why the city has a responsibility to make sure that which is one of many reasons the city has a responsibility to make sure that this development isn't adversely impacting residents, that residents feel that they had a voice at the table, and that they have, you know, a way to deal with right? Like there's always going to be discomfort, but it can't just be hand waved away. Like we need to address that discomfort, and if it's
yeah,
otherwise it turns into a broader anger that I don't think anybody wants. I don't.
Yes, and there's an issue of public trust in
Correct.
the city, right? In the city council, that it is prioritizing the people that are here and listening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to be respectful of your time. I'm going to do one more question.
Okay.
So, and this is kind of a pet interest of mine, which is public transit. So,
Okay.
I know I've been thinking in particular about the bus systems in Lowell, the LRTA. I wrote a piece recently about
better
the
bus stops.
little bus stops, which is one piece of the puzzle. But another thing I've been thinking about is comparing the LRTA with what I think is a helpful foil, which is MIVA in Lawrence, right?
Yeah.
So what I've noticed is that ridership in Lowell since COVID has, if I'm right, is yet to like surpass pre-COVID ridership,
Right.
whereas in Lawrence has done that pretty significantly. And one of the things has been increasing frequency and the duration that the bus is available, like that it's running. Like, so right now, I think LRTA runs until like, is it 6:30, something like that?
It's not particularly late. Yeah.
It's a pretty early cutoff. And I know, so
when you're 2 buses away from everything, that's the real problem.
yes, so I want to talk about that. I did want to point to really quick that back in May, Councilor Scott, and seconded by Councilor Jenness, the incumbent, had made a motion to write a letter to the LRTA requesting that they increase frequency and time.
Yeah.
And we got a response that was kind of lukewarm, in my opinion. But I guess, what are your thoughts on how to improve
Yeah,
public
so one
transit?
thing, so LRTA is separate from the city, which is wild, but that's okay. One of the things that MIVA did, so my parents still live in Methuen. One of the other things that MIVA did that the LRTA has not done, the city has not done, is it's very obvious where the bus is supposed to stop. Even if they don't have a really nice looking, like what you talked about in your Substack, like even if there's no plants and no solar panels, not even a bench, there is a sign that says bus at like every bus stop. There's no, am I at the bus stop or do I need to walk? The amount of people I see on Market Street miss a bus by like 15 feet.
Yeah.
It's silly. We also, city side, something that we should address, there are several bus stops that are not actually accessible. So I'm thinking particularly at the bottom of Market Street, Market and, Jesus, what street? I'm sorry, I'm blanking.
Oh, okay.
It's either okay, so like you're going to cross Market.
Mm-hmm.
Is that still Thorndike? At some point, Thorndike turns into Arcan Drive.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Like by
near
by like the Dutton Street,
near the
kinda
train?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, by the train. I promise I know the district really well. The street name soup sometimes gets me.
Yeah.
I'm a landmark guy. You by the train, you go to, if you wanted to go to the bus stop, you have to go over the tracks, which is they're there. Mm-hmm. But then the sidewalk just ends, like the pavement is gone, and then there's like a gravel patch and it's like that's the bus stop. It's like, hey, like, you want a bench and solar panels. I'd love it. What I would like even more, like tomorrow, is something that you could actually get to with a wheelchair, a walker, a stroller, or any other sort of mobility problem. Because I don't like trying to get over there. Like that's an easy immediate. That should be an easy immediate city side problem.
Yeah. Can I add really
yes.
quick? So I spoke with some folks at NIMCOG,
Okay.
the Northern Middlesex Council of Governments, and they did do an audit. I'm actually really excited about this. They audited the entire bus system, every single bus stop that they could find. They've gone through this whole process of documenting. They have pictures of each one, prioritizing. The LRTA has more recently gotten it's crazy that this is just now happening, but stop-based data on how many people get on at each stop. And so I do believe, from what I've seen, at least on NIMCOG's side, that they're putting together more plans for this.
Okay.
It feels like I wish this happened much earlier. I feel like we should have been thinking about this for a long time. But I wanted to shout out that work because it's really exciting.
Yeah, well, and the other thing I want, just while we're talking about transit, my pet project here, transit is more than just bus stops. So if we can think about how do we make it easier to get around without getting in your car, which actually would, in Lowell, just make it easier to get around, because living in downtown, if you try to leave, during the bad times, it's hard. It's very hard, and it takes a long time. Right now, the city has the bones of what could be a really nice alternative path, a multimodal path, from Gallagher all the way through to where we are right now and beyond. So when they did the Complete Streets project on Thorndike, they put in a protected bike lane and a really nice sidewalk, and that runs from Gallagher all the way down Thorndike Street. At Hamilton Canal, at Swamp Locks, which is the best name in the city, Swamp Locks, you come across the bridge. There's like a pedestrian and bike bridge. Come across that, and now you're in the Hamilton Canal district, on a kind of dilapidated walkway, but with a little bit of TLC. It's very close. It's just, fix a couple bricks. And we're now on a nice pathway that takes you up towards Market Street. You get to Market Street, cross Market Street at that bridge that has had a Jersey barrier up longer than I can remember. But we get across that. Now we're in that DCR park by the Boston and Maine. Mm-hmm. We go behind Boston and Maine, and we hit our first real construction project, which is the set of stairs that shouldn't exist. Okay. So figure out who owns the set of stairs. You grade those stairs, get a ramp, something, so that I can do it with a stroller, someone can do it in a wheelchair or a scooter, or you could ride your bike. Now we're crossing Merrimack Street into Lucy Larcom. If they ever finish the high school construction, Lucy Larcom's a double-wide concrete path that goes all the way up to Father Morissette. Cross Father Morissette with a blinker light, right? You press it. It's you know what I'm talking about. The walk sign is on to cross.
Right.
Now we're at the Songa Center, really super wide rotary. It's a very safe area to be walking or biking. You really shouldn't get hit by a car. It's it's only one lane, but it's big enough to be like every lane. You take that, now you're either on the canal walk, the sneaky canal walk in front of Wanalancet Mill, or you go behind the Songas and you're on the Riverwalk. Mm-hmm. If you turn left there, you come up to UMass Lowell. You can get all the way to U Crossing in a protected way. If you turn right and they ever fix the rest of the Riverwalk, you've already gone to the Songa Center. You can go back. You can wind up at the auditorium. Yeah. The ICC and Middlesex Community College. There's another canal walk that goes through like that Lower Locks area by MCC, like that main like Cowan building at MCC. You get on that, you can cross back down towards Central Street. Still haven't been on a real road. Yeah. Cross back down towards Central Street. Cross Central Street. One more set of stairs that need to be leveled out. It goes so when you cross Central Street, parallel to Market Street is where this is. It goes down and then it pops back up, and then it is at the Aligned Credit Union building that the city purchased. Yeah. That 27 parking spaces down in the bottom should be greened and turned into a nice little park area, right? Yeah. The walkway goes behind the parking garage that is empty on the third and fourth floors and half empty on the second floor, which is why we don't need those 27 spaces that the city has bought in the Aligned Credit Union spot. And now we are back in a nice lollipop. After we get around the backside of the garage, we are back at that Hamilton Canal turn left, and you're back to Thorndike.
I see. And
so that would direct traffic from a major transit terminal. Gallagher's got the train and the buses, walking or biking through downtown to several of the major attractions, the campus, the arena, the auditorium, through the business district. And it would be really nice. And we'd get a park at the Aligned Credit Union parking lot, because it's 27. You keep the 4 or 5 spaces up by Market Street. Yeah. You got a parking garage, green the park. Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
And it's protected. That's not adding a bike lane to a street, which I know makes people angry. Mm-hmm. And I get it. But it's creating a walkable... It's leveraging existing infrastructure in a way that should make it fairly affordable. I think I just laid the whole thing out. I'm going to do a video at some point today. I'll walk it so that you guys can see it. But I laid the whole thing out. We're talking about a couple of sets of stairs. Like, we're not talking about, like, and then we're going to cut a brand new trail. Like, it's all already there. It's just linking it and signing it so that it's obvious.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love for more walkable downtown like that. So the last thing I wanted to talk with you about is the presence of ICE in Lowell. So, we've had, obviously in the last few months, but also in the last few weeks.
Ramp back up.
Yes, an increase in ICE presence in the city. And I'm wondering, do you feel, I guess, two things. One, what do you think the city should be doing about that? And two, do you feel like the city's doing enough now?
Right. So I want actually to start by echoing what I said back in June on my first my debut interview with Inside Lowell, which was that regardless of anyone's opinion on national immigration politics and who should be here and who shouldn't be here, who is anyone, whatever, wherever you fall on that issue, the current situation is wrong, right? It's wrong. Mm-hmm. It is wrong to, if I'm at work, if I'm walking down the street, I've had kids that get, visibly upset because they saw, masked goons, right? These masked men just kind of grabbing people in their neighborhood on the bus ride into school or on the walk to school. They're getting nervous on a certain street, or if they're coming across, especially if they're coming across Bridge Street, to make like a 15-year-old feel that way. I feel how I feel about national immigration, and that's not what the race is about. That's not what the city has any control over. Whatever your politics are there, creating an environment where you have kids that are now afraid to walk to school or are at school and are visibly upset and are wondering, it's wrong. It's wrong. I don't know what else. I truly don't know what else to say other than it's wrong. You've got people just dragged off to Burlington and they're gone. I talk to people that work, provide interpretation services and they work with people that have been picked up. And this isn't even to, I highly doubt that your audience has a lot of pro-ICE listeners, sure. but just to really make sure I'm speaking to everyone here, this is, when I talk to people, when I am walking down the street and I'm just talking to my neighbors, they're not selective in who they're grabbing. ICE doesn't much care. If you hit the boxes on their checklist that have very little to do with your immigration status, they're gonna grab you and they'll sort it out after. Right. I don't have it. I walked here. I don't have a driver's license with me right now. Right. But I'm a white dude. I'm probably not getting stopped by ICE. But if you look different than me or you, and you're walking in Lowell and you get stopped by ICE and you don't have an ID on you, and now you're off to Burlington and now we're waiting to get it sorted out, and it's wrong. Yeah.
There was the recent Supreme Court decision about the criteria that ICE is able to use to basically identify someone they want to target or detain, and it included the color of their skin or
it just
they're
openly
speaking
profiling
a language, which is, again, regardless of your thoughts on what we do about folks who are undocumented.
Correct.
That culture of fear, of being afraid that based on what the Supreme Court is saying, you could be targeted for the color of your skin, for the language you're speaking, that creates a culture of fear in places like Lowell.
Correct. And regardless of the immigration status on the end, they're oh, well, it got sorted out and they went home. Great. How long did it take? What does it feel like to be grabbed by masked men, thrown in the back of a car and driven off to Burlington for processing? That's not that you're Sorry, I'm back.
So I guess
it also bothers me deeply, and I said this months ago on the other show, is can the city do anything? Not a lot, right? Like, and I'm not pretending that, like, you know, but what I think is the bare minimum, you should be able to say it's wrong. And I don't need a motion in front of the city council that's like, let's have a big vote on that. I mean, if you are a sitting city councilor and ICE raids the building next door to you, Canal Place 3, which happened a couple months ago, it happened, and somebody left a door open and they got in and they're running through the building, and you can't publicly say that it's wrong. That's really hard for me. It's really, really hard for me to believe that. Yeah, I saw Melanie Gilbert somewhere, and
reporter with
reporter with the Lowell Sun,
and
she reiterated to me something that I had said before I talked to Melanie Gilbert, but it just kind of by intuition. It was like, well, if you're a city councilor and we have a semi-local paper and you email them, hey, I want to comment this, they're gonna print it. We can't even get a couple lines in the Lowell Sun. Hi, I am the sitting city councilor that represents this area where all these ICE raids are happening, and I think it's wrong. Like, it is abhorrent that we've created this climate of fear. Basically what I just said, you know, or better, right? Like, we are creating an environment in which kids are afraid to go to school, adults are afraid to go to work, and regardless of how you feel on national immigration politics, nobody can honestly tell me that this is what we have to do. There's no. Like, I am, Ryan, guide me in words here, because it's wrong.
Yeah, and it's
a choice to remain silent on it being wrong. It's wrong.
Sure. Yeah, like, if the city doesn't have the power to do something, the very least you can do is affirm the immorality of it, and the sense like we're with you.
Correct. At a bare minimum, on an individual level, as an elected official on an individual level, the bare minimum is to say that it's wrong. Do I think that the city could, like other cities in the area have done, provide multilingual resources on the city websites and the city's other pages that kind of like provide information?
Know your rights.
The know your rights documents, right? Like, yeah, I think we could. Do I think that? Yes, I do. Do I think that's going to be a magic like salve? No, I don't. But we could do it. Yeah. But the bare minimum, and it's been months, right? Like, it's been months. It's wrong, and I don't understand how how people haven't been able to say that. How sitting councilors haven't been able to say that it's wrong. I'm not asking for a motion and a middle finger to the Trump administration and let's really tick everyone off and see if we can get more funding cuts. Although, quite honestly, if that's the cost of the money, right? Like, not right. It's wrong. It's wrong.
Yeah.
It's just wrong. There's no. Sorry. Yeah. There's no room here on this. It's wrong. Yeah. This is, of all the times to hold your tongue and be the quiet person and the whatever. But yeah, so I'm Sean McDonough. It is SeanForLowell.com, or on Facebook or Instagram, or the guy walking around in a green shirt.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Sean, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.